Hey, how's it going, fight fans? Welcome to mindforcombat. If you're new to the channel, my name's Rohan. It's my platform to do MMA and boxing related content. If you're new here, why don't you help me grow my platform? All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like it, maybe hit that bell icon so you know every time I upload a video and you can be the first to come and watch it. With that said, it's a very important fight here in 2020, and it's one that I'm really looking forward to break down. That's a fight between the reigning long time, and I suppose I'm counting it all the way back to when he beat Shogun Rua in 2011, the reigning long time consensus #1 light heavyweight in the world, Jon Jones. He looks to defend his belt against the #1 contender and undefeated prospect in Dominick Reyes. Well, I suppose he's not a prospect, he's a contender, but he is the #1 contender. He's undefeated. It's a really, really fun fight, and I cannot look to break this one down. One of the key things that we got to remember in this fight when we're looking at it, we've got Jon Jones here, who, despite having been around for so long, despite having been so dominant for so long, has still maintained this enthusiasm for the fight game. He just wants to remain the best. He still loves the game and he still has a huge passion for it. It's not a passion that he's willing to let it slide, and that's something that's very important and that we cannot be forgetting. That's as we come into this fight, he fights a young and hungry contender, a guy who is almost the same size as him. The last time I saw Jon Jones fight a dude that was his size or bigger was probably Gustafsson. Now that's a very important thing to come into this fight, and when we're going through the breakdown, we'll talk about it a bit more. Jon Jones, however, despite still being hungry and still being eager to learn, since he came back after his steroid suspension in his fights with, he looked pretty sensational against Gus. Gus may have been in a different part of his career. His fights against Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos, he has not looked like the unstoppable force he once did. So what are we going to see from Jon Jones coming into this fight, and what has Dominick Reyes got to offer Jon Jones? Can he step up to the podium? Will Jon Jones dominate, or is Jon Jones declining? Let's talk about it. Let's go through the tape of tape. First important stat to remember is that Jon Jones is still only 32 years old. Yes, he's been around for a long time. Yes, he won a world title at 23. Yes, he's had his ups and downs in terms of outside of the cage, but he's still only 32 years old. As a light heavyweight, that puts him slap bang in the middle of his peak, his prime. He's still going to get better. He's still got room for growth. And he's actually talking about going heavyweight, where they have an even longer shelf life. So at 32 years old, Jon Jones is very much in his prime, and he fights another fighter quite in his prime in Dominick Reyes, who has just turned 30 years old, still a very young man. He's got tons of way to go in the fight game, and this is a very, very interesting matchup. Jon Jones comes into this fight with a professional mixed martial arts record of 25 wins, 1 loss and 1 no contest. Let's be honest, he's 27-0. Realistically, he got disqualified by the ref in a fight with Matt Hamill. That was his only loss in a fight that he was absolutely dominating. He was smashing Matt Hamill, and then he KO'd Daniel Cormier with a head kick. But he popped for steroids, and they had to overturn that, which is where that loss comes. And he fights Dominick Reyes, who comes into this fight perfect, but he's only had 12 fights. He's 12 wins, 0 losses. He's never been on this caliber of, he's never faced this caliber of opposition. He's never been on a stage this big. So there's a vast discrepancy when it comes into experience, and I feel like that will play out in this fight. They both stand at 6'4", which is interesting because you don't really see Jon Jones fighting someone that's tall as him. But where the big difference is that Jon Jones has an 84.5-inch reach advantage, which gives him 7.5 inches over Dominick Reyes, who has a 77-inch reach advantage. When we're talking about the styles, well, Jon Jones is quite hard to describe his style. He's got that unorthodox striking. He loves them oblique kicks. He's got long hands. He's got a long reach. But really, he's well-rounded. There's no one thing with Jon Jones that I can point to and call him, oh, he's a striker, he's a grappler. That's not the case. He's actually a well-rounded fighter that can do everything. And he fights Dominick Reyes, who I would very much categorize as a striker. Yes, he's shown us that he's got some skills on the ground, but he's a striker who likes to be on his feet. He's called a devastator. He's got that huge left hook. He's got head kick KOs. He's a great striker, and that's what I'm going to describe him as. Let's call him a striker. Let's look at some of the key wins. I could honestly do a video on just talking about Jon Jones' key wins from his most recent wins over the likes of Thiago Santos, Anthony Smith, Gus again, to pretty much send Gus into retirement, to beating Daniel Cormier, one of the greatest of all time, Rampage Jackson, Shogun Rua, Lyoto Machida, Rashad Evans, Glover Teixeira, Ryan Bader, some of the best fighters to ever do it. He's got a long list of great wins. For Dominick Reyes, you're already looking at 2 wins that stand out for me. One is OSP, who Jon Jones also beat, and then you've got Chris Weidman, who was making his light heavyweight debut, but Chris Weidman may be a little bit short, so that's kind of interesting. The issues for Jon Jones coming into this fight is going to be, it's kind of questionable if he is slowing down. Is he slowing down? He hasn't looked as dominant as he once did to me in his fight since he came back after his suspension. What is that indicative of? Is competition starting to catch up? Is he starting to slow down? Has he lost his buzz? I don't know. There's some questions there. For Dominick Reyes, the issue that jumps out at me is going to be A, Jon Jones' wrestling, and B, his inexperience at this level. How is he going to deal with it when he's in the thick of it? How will he cope with it? The X factor for Jon Jones is going to be his well-rounded game, and most certainly the amount of experience that he's had. And the X factor for Dominick Reyes is going to be his youth and freshness, along with the power that he carries in his left hand and his size. Let's get into the prediction now. So this is a very interesting fight, and I think we're going to be seeing a fight that's going to be very, very close in the early part of the fight. I think Dominick Reyes is going to give Jon Jones a lot of trouble on the feet because A, his size, and B, he's a very fluid, good technical striker, and he carries a lot of power, which Jon Jones will be cautious of. Jon Jones, being the intelligent fighter that he is, no doubt he's going to have in the back of his mind, I better mind that left hook, but he's also going to employ a game plan that keeps him at length. Now, although they're both very big fighters and relatively similar in size, Jon Jones enjoys a much longer reach, and I reckon he has a much longer leg reach as well, if that's the thing. I'm sure if we could quantify it, we would know that Jon Jones has a much longer reach, so he'll be able to keep him at bay to a degree. It's going to be very interesting in the early rounds because at that point when Dominick Reyes, before he started to wear out, before he started to get worn down, before he started to get tired out by Jon Jones' oblique kicks and he's in pain and he's hurting, he will be putting the pressure on Bones Jones. He doesn't seem intimidated in the slightest. He has a lot of confidence in his abilities and his power, and he's going to be getting in Jones' face. Where this fight is going to get interesting is when A, Jon Jones starts to implement his wrestling, and B, as the fight goes on, because Jon Jones has been in them dog fights, those difficult wars, Dominick Reyes hasn't, and I'm very interested to see how that plays out. In my opinion, we're going to see a competitive fight early, and as the fight goes on, Jon Jones is going to start using his well-rounded game, implementing his wrestling, getting in them elbows and cutting Dominick Reyes up. As Dominick Reyes gets tired and starts to struggle with the fatigue and the difficulty that comes with a dogfight, I reckon Jon Jones will start to take over, and we're going to see Jon Jones wins rounds 4 and 5 clearly, and probably even round 3. So in my opinion, we're going with Jon Jones for a unanimous decision. Fight fans, for my official prediction, I'm going to go with Jon Jones to win this fight by unanimous decision. Anyway, fight fans, why don't you guys comment below? Let me know how you see this fight going. Let me know your pick on it, and let me know what you thought about my prediction and breakdowns fight. It's a fight that I'm really excited for. Cannot wait. I would love to know your prediction. Thank you for watching, guys. I'm Rohan, and this is Mindful Combat.